Hello, welcome back to theCUBE. We are here in the New York City at NYSE studios for theCUBE East. This is our East Coast super node, super point of presence. We've got the Silicon Valley studio in Palo Alto here at the Wall Street, part of the NYSE Wired CUBE partnership. I'm John Furrier, your host of theCUBE. Tom Bianculli is here, CTO of Zebra Technologies, is here in town for NRF, made the trek over to the stock exchange. Thanks for coming on.
It's great to be here, John. Thanks for having me.
So really appreciate you taking time out of your super busy schedule to come into the NYSE. Not a bad little location
great
here.
Spot.
Will be our East Coast kind of point of presence. This is where the community's going to dial up into the world and connect people and content. And NRF's the hot show.
It absolutely
is. So we love talking AI
right.
as it applies to retail.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle of it with Zebra Technologies. You guys, I know you got some news.
Yep.
But I want to get your take on, just explain what Zebra does for the folks watching who might not know the extent of what you guys do, and then what's happening at NRF this year.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So Zebra Technologies, we like to say we're hidden in plain sight. If you've been at a checkout lane or you've been in any retail store, you've had a package delivered to your front door, you've seen our devices, you may not have noticed the logo, but it's been there. So we have market share leading positions in all the mobile computers that are deployed across 80% of Fortune 500 companies. That includes retailers, transportation companies, manufacturing companies, warehouses, hospital wristbands, and patient-side medication administration that's using our devices to really digitize and automate workflows. So if you think about capturing information, that could be information about inventory on a shelf.
Like scanners.
Scanning technology that reads barcodes, that prints those barcodes, that captures that data on mobile computers that for applications to be able to consume them for doing things like inventory optimization. And then we have a whole suite of software capabilities that help optimize those frontline workers. And really the way we like to think about it is much of what we provide is aimed at enabling productivity at the point of activity. People that went to school to become healthcare providers didn't do that so they could document patient care. They did it so they could provide the care to a patient. So we want to use the technology to remove all that extraneous activity, allow them to get their job done, and we do that through asset visibility, mobile computing, and intelligent automation.
So you guys have a lot of products, both software and hardware, that powers the edge, super edge, like, hey, I'm scanning the bracelet, I'm at a hospital, or I'm buying something, checking inventory. We've all seen scanners. UPS comes and Amazon comes, they scan the package, take a picture, things like that. That's kind of like what the main...
Exactly, and one of the terms that's been coming up more and more over like the last year is the far edge. So if you think about the edge as being on-prem, and the cloud, of course, everybody knows, and the far edge is literally right down what's either worn by or in the hand of a person getting a job done.
And like healthcare, retail has a lot of IoT devices.
Yes.
You guys are in that device business, have the back office. I mean, all business operations are going to have this end-to-end kind of workflow.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're living it. You guys are, this market in retail, I think, like healthcare, lives in the state-of-the-art, super edge, multiple devices, small form factor, highly intelligent.
Exactly.
Hitting a database. So you've been living this world.
Oh yeah, we actually pioneered wearable technology in the enterprise with some of the largest transportation carriers, the first wearable computers that mounted on wrists. We have scanners that read barcodes that literally the size of a ring that you can wear on your finger. And so if you think about a large carrier like a FedEx or UPS, when they're loading the back of those vehicles, they're scanning every package going in using that kind of technology. And we pioneered that, and now we're seeing a whole new generation of it with generative AI and computer vision and AI that we're really excited about.
And the company is not a startup, it's been around for a while.
We've been around for over 50 years.
50 years, So this has been an e-commerce, physical world situation. We've all seen how retail's evolved.
Exactly.
And now with AI, so first of all, retail, I mean, with the conversation we've been having here, to get your perspective, has been twofold. One is the digital side, obviously, of the internet. The pandemic changed the brick and mortar relationship to digital.
Yes.
So everyone had to go online.
Absolutely.
Stores were shut down. And then, the whole post-pandemic. That was a forcing function to change behavior. A lot of things were happening differently. And then now the pre-agentic, now generative AI has changed another forcing function. Because now you got computer vision. I mean, there's things happening now that were not gettable technically.
Absolutely.
Go back 5 to 10 years, even 5. So what are some of those things that's happening at NRF now that, as you guys have been in the, I call pole position, if you're going to be in the market, you're seeing everything. What's gettable now? Is it the computer vision? Is it the self-autonomous retail tracking system? I mean, I'm just making this up, but I'm sure there's a lot of cool things.
Absolutely. Those are all great points. And even just to flesh it out a little bit further and go back to our heritage as well. We like to say we were initiated well before IoT, this idea of converting atoms to bits. So the mission of our company actually early on was very much around connecting the physical to digital. And now, as you said, there's been the pandemic ushered in a lot of change in behavior. And I think one of the other dynamics on the demand side we're seeing from our customers, and this showcased in a major way at NRF over the last couple of days, is the labor shortage and labor attrition, wage inflation. And so Korn Ferry is actually estimating that by the end of the decade, there'll be a shortage of 85 million workers, which is like the population of Germany. And they're anticipating that's going to result in $8 trillion of unrealized economic output. So everything you just said, which is the technology is now possible. What's possible is advanced massively. And what's valuable is being able to augment workers to be able to deal with the fact that there is this labor shortage, and we're asking frontline workers to do more and more. So if you think about what's on the floor at NRF, what are we hearing from our customers? Think about a store now, it's not just a physical store to go shopping in, it's also a fulfillment center. So the store is being used to pick items and ship those to your home. And so now we're asking those workers in the store not only to do their regular job of stocking shelves, but they're also picking those items to be able to ship as well. So in terms of the technology, what's realizable now and possible, absolutely computer vision is at an inflection point in terms of what can be run on that far edge. So we demoed in the booth with Qualcomm, with Google, and with a major North American retailer, the ability to literally snap a picture of a shelf and within a second be able to identify all 70 products on that shelf, identify what the products are they the right products, is anything in the wrong location, is anything out of stock, and then to the agentic point of what you mentioned earlier, the system then ingests all of that captured data and using generative AI decides what are the right next things to do. Should I kick off a task to have someone replenish an item, but don't do that if it's not in the back stock, otherwise you're just wasting somebody's time. Or should I say, hey, there is no back stock, but there's a product missing, here's a substitute you should go put in there and do that. So basically it's automating. Next best action. Next best action, orchestrating workflows, and doing that in a very automated fashion and removing steps from the workflow.
It's interesting, a lot of your customers I'm sure have this problem because we're seeing this consistently across all industries and all verticals, whether it's at the infrastructure for the big banks or whatever vertical in industry, is that data and AI growth is growing so much faster than budgets.
Right.
So the money has to come from somewhere.
Absolutely.
We predict in our research a $1 trillion shift is going to happen over the next 24 months around data center and edge deployments.
Right.
And when I say shift, it's not shifting from the cloud. Yeah, it's some repatriation, but it's cloud connected.
Yes.
So we're distributed computing, hybrid architecture, that's happening. So cloud guys are going to, everyone wins.
Yes.
But the money has to come from somewhere.
Yes.
So we're saying it's got to come from the old stuff.
Right.
So stuff will be killed to feed the new stuff.
Yeah. Which I think this is a really...
Where is that coming from? Where's the dollars going to come from?
Yeah, well, I think every one of our customers, and I, over the course of 2 days, met with a few dozen customers, are thinking about how do they reinvent their operations. And in fact, one of our customers mentioned to us that, hey, if we keep piling on to our frontline workers the things we need them to do, let's say over the next 2 years, because they can see what is coming for the store environment and omni-fulfillment and endless aisle and so on, the labor bill will actually outpace the sales bill. Right, so where it's got to come from, a big chunk of it has to come from just raw efficiency. So can I get the work of 5 people using 3 people because I can automate 40% of the workflow using some of this generative AI and technology. So that's a big way that our customers are thinking about it. Robotics is going to be a
big part of it.
Physical automation is a big one.
At CES we saw a ton of robotic around
the logistics
labor
space,
tracking, scanning, inventory.
Absolutely. So in the logistics space, we're definitely seeing more and more of the physical robotics capability. And we actually acquired a company several years back called Fetch Robotics out of San Jose that is focused on autonomous mobile robots that does collaborative fulfillment in e-commerce fulfillment centers. So this is orchestrating robots with people in an environment, and we're taking if you think about the time or the amount of mileage that a picker in a warehouse environment walks per day without this robotics, they might walk 12 or 15 miles a day. And with this robotics capability, it's down to 1 or 2 miles, and they're focused on the actual picking and
Well,
fulfillment.
if I want to get my steps in, maybe I should look at that
exactly.
career.
Yeah, maybe both of us should think about that.
Just to kind of put things in perspective with Zebra Technology,
Yeah.
you guys have product categories: mobile computers, tablets, barcode scanners and printers, RFID
Yeah.
readers, smart label technologies, autonomous mobile robots, machine vision systems, enterprise software solutions, and you're operating in multiple industries: retail and e-commerce, which we're talking about this week,
Absolutely.
manufacturing, transportation and logistics, banking, healthcare, government, public sector, hospitality, utilities.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are accelerating workflows end to end across all markets.
We are. Yeah.
You guys have a unique perspective.
Yes.
What's the one thing, if you zoom out and say, what, and look, get away from the bark of the tree to the
Yes.
forest, what's going on? How are the trees blowing? What are you seeing
Yes.
as CTO? What is the common thread? Is it
Yeah.
horizontally scalable data? Is it domain-specific application intelligence?
Right.
What's the core
Yeah.
thing that you
So-
guys overseeing that you're
Yeah,
seeing
so what I
happening?
would say is a common thread across all those areas is this need to have perpetual asset visibility. So wanting to understand, and a lot of the Omniverse capability, digital twin, some of these concepts have been around for a while, but now it's really hitting a point where it's able to drive a return on investment.
Yeah.
And so asset visibility is really around where are all my people, my inventory, my capital assets, but not just understanding that from like a planning perspective, but understanding in real time, in motion, where are those assets?
Yeah.
That's one key piece. The other piece is what we're calling the augmented connected workforce. And it's not just us. Gartner actually is calling it the augmented connected workforce. And it's expected that over the next several years, that's going to be deployed to reduce what Gartner calls the time to competency by 50%. For onboarding new employees. So, and these are the kinds of trends, the asset visibility and making that more perpetual and continuous, the everyone connected workforce that has the right information and the next best action at their fingertips. And then the ability to have human-centered automation. I think there's so much in the headlines around wholesale automation, and it's going to
The human
completely
loop's
replace.
going to be critical.
Exactly.
Robots will fill the gap on some labor issues. Yeah, my coffee might be filled by a robot, but a latte's a latte, whatever. But
Right.
the humans, the next product.
Yeah,
from the
exactly.
human.
And so being able to do that in a collaborative fashion with automation. So I would say those three elements of that, perpetual visibility, the connected frontline worker with this information, and then the collaborative engagement with robotics. You could pick any vertical from what's happening in healthcare to what's happening in retail, and certainly what's happening in warehouse and
You
transportation
mentioned
logistics.
digital twins. One of the trends that we're seeing in here, certainly in retail, that's more acute because it's got a consumer aspect to it, is listening to the customer.
Yes.
Now, in classic retail, if we're just without the internet, it's like, hey, they looked at the price tag, they squint their eyes and they stomp away. Oh, they don't like the price.
Right. That's right.
You can read that gesture.
Yes.
Listening to the data. So you guys actually track and analyze and accelerate data, essentially.
Yeah.
What you do. That's
Right,
basically
right,
sounding, I get that right, simplified a little bit,
Yeah,
oversimplified it, but
visible, connected, and optimized.
that's what you guys are doing. Okay, so how do I listen to the data? You mentioned digital twins, because digital twins, we use that term and when we do all of our digital events.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's not a digital twin. I mean, okay, you want to get specific. Manufacturers use digital twin because they're the first industry that gets value out of that.
Right.
Now, my thesis is, okay, I do a digital twin, why? Because I want to get no defects.
Right.
So I'll use a digital twin simulation to drive what the outcome of manufacturing is.
Yes.
Highest quality product, no defects. I'm oversimplifying that.
Right,
but I know that among other things, roll the
machine
line.
uptime and all these sorts of things.
So that definition of using digital technology to simulate efficiency for something.
Yes.
So that could be applied to everything.
Yes.
So in media, a digital twin could be a cube not on the show floor at NRF right now.
Right.
We're here.
Yes.
I mean, we're digitally twinning NRF.
Yes.
Technically.
Yeah.
So now the data comes into our cloud. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of connecting the dots here because I think digital twin is probably the biggest opportunity I've ever seen in the world we're in now, because every industry could have that outcome.
Absolutely.
If you don't know the outcome, you can't leverage the data.
That's right. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this? I mean, I kind of
no.
a little loosely described there.
Yeah,
but.
no. I think that the great, insights around that. I think and we're both saying the concept's been around for a little while. We're seeing a little bit of an inflection point. But what's really critical, I think, in this digital twin and the asset visibility space is driving back from the use cases back. And so the challenge so if we think about. If we think about on-shelf inventory availability or inventory accuracy for fulfillment from store, one way to look at it, say digital twin, and say I want to have a digital representation of the entire store at every second of every day. that could be energy management, it could be inventory. If you take it from a digital twin perspective, it's the people, it's where the vehicles are coming in the back to make deliveries. Or you could say, hey, the use case is that 50% of when shoppers leave a store without buying something, more than 50% of the time, it's because they couldn't find what they wanted on the shelf. Like a really basic thing. Yeah. And so, or when you're made a promise to deliver something to your house tomorrow, and I send a picker in the store to go pick that item and they can't find it on the shelf, you're a disappointed customer. So if we said, hey, what if we digitally twinned the shelf and we used camera technology, both fixed, mobile, RFID, tremendous boom in RFID over the last couple of years, and another big area of technology innovation at NRF this year, another big topic with customers. So those items that can be tagged with RFID, we have customers doing this today, they're getting that perpetual visibility of the inventory, and they have basically a digital twin of all the inventory. That's then solving for,
so
hey, I'm never out of stock. I never make a disappointed customer because I always can find what I'm looking for when I do the pick. And so it's a digital twin with a purpose.
Yeah,
it's a digital twin to go now
optimize why the thing exists in the first place.
Exactly right, exactly right. And then what we're seeing, John, really is once you stitch together multiple of these use cases, you get to the whole store becomes digital twinned, because it's an amalgamation of a number of these use cases. And I think that's the way to do it in an economically realistic way, as opposed to just digital twin for digital twin's sake.
Yeah, and I think I bring it up because I think a lot of people get dogmatic around old definitions. We wrote, in August, we wrote the section on The Economist on the digital twin feature, and we used the Uber example because it's people, places, and things. There's things going on.
Yes,
a lot of things are happening.
Exactly.
And they're different databases, so like you have to get it right, and you can run simulations to figure out the classic, did you find everything at the cash register? Did you get everything you need?
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't. Can you go get me no, they're not going to do that. I never say that to the cashier, hey, I had a hard time getting X.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, see you next time. Like, what, are they going to stop what they're doing? Are they going to call loudspeaker?
Yes.
So I think having, that's a real world example.
Absolutely, getting that insight, and exactly, like using cameras to be able to determine, hey, is someone dwelling? I mean, dwelling's another one. Like, are you dwelling in front of a large purchase item? And you're probably trying to make a decision. Is that the right time to send someone over to maybe do some assisted selling?
I think the computer vision kiosk kind of hey, how can I help you?
Yes.
Can be on the app. It could be sensing where I'm in the store. Again, so much is going on.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, we could go for an hour. I got to ask about the relationship with Google first.
Yeah,
because I know you mentioned them earlier. You did a thing with Google and Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Thanks to Google for giving us your contact information, bringing me in. Love this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing working with Google on their cloud for? Google Cloud has been a big partner.
Sure.
I mean, obviously Gemini Pro has got great reviews. They got a lot of big queries, a great product. They got a lot of great big iron capability.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the exciting thing about the Google relationship, and really unique with Zebra, and Qualcomm as well, but with Google specifically, we use Google's Android operating system, which is obviously independent of the Google Cloud platform, on all our mobile computers, and we have market share leading position, the number one position in enterprise mobile computers across all the verticals you mentioned. But then in addition to that relationship with Google Cloud Platform and GCP, we've been on a journey with them for the last 6 or 7 years. And we essentially had no SaaS offerings if I go back 6 or 7 years ago as a company. And now we're enabling with a whole suite of what we call work cloud offerings. It's a whole suite of communication, collaboration, employee self-service for doing things like swapping shifts and seeing your schedule, forums, being able to do like if a manager wants to leave a note of the day for the beginning of the shift. Task management is all built into this as well. So we have a whole suite of software that engages that frontline worker, that helps them get their job done. Again, sort of removes the extraneous noise and helps them focus on what's the most important thing in the moment. And all of that, as we brought that in through organic development, acquisitions, and it's been multiple acquisitions to kind of get to where we are, we went on that journey with Google Cloud to migrate and basically shift and harmonize all of that into a cloud instance that allows us to minimize duplicity and have a common data lake and do that in a really effective and efficient way possible. All the metering, we're partnered with them on Apogee for API integration, so we can do metering and observability.
Got security challenges too.
Absolutely, and leveraging Google in terms of being able to get that from a security wrapper perspective is tremendous as well. So all of that on the tech side, but the other thing I really enjoyed about the Google relationship is the transformation element. So when we started on the journey, we were doing a lot of this as infrastructure as a service, and we realized, hey, we can get a lot more done. We can spend our cycles and our capital developing a lot more value if we focus above the platform layer and bring Google in as a platform as a service. And so going on that change journey is not simple either, right? You've got people that have been developing certain ways for a long time. And to bring Google in and go on that transformation with them was just as valuable as all the technology. And as I always like to say, people do business with people at the end of the day, and they're just tremendously great culture and people to work with.
And that's a great business call too, because what we're seeing right now with AI, if you're at scale, and you have end-to-end workflows and data, that's the new asset, right? So
absolutely.
IP, the intellectual property is what you got going on, so you can get to scale faster in your core.
And that's exactly right.
And they're underpinning, they got the marketplace and other stuff, but the core scale.
It's core versus context. It's exactly right. Like let's the contextual foundational elements we'll build on top of and use Google for that. So it's been a great
CTO of Zebra Technologies, I mean, you got so much going on. You're in the thick of everything. You're literally on the wave. I mean, it's got to be thrilling.
It
must
absolutely
be fun.
is.
What's it like? What's it like to be CTO of Zebra?
Well, first of all, I have to mention the team at Zebra. That's the most exciting thing about it is all of the people that make up Zebra. I think our culture is one of our biggest, if not the biggest differentiator, and our people are our greatest asset. So, working with an awesome team, always like surrounding myself with people that are smarter than I am, and I'm able to do that at Zebra in many, many ways in different disciplines. So, great team, that's awesome at Zebra. One of the most exciting things beyond our own team and people is just working with customers and being really close to the customer. We pride ourselves in that. We understand the workflows. We have, fortunate enough to say, just amazing relationships with customers, and we co-innovate, we co-develop with those customers, and we did that exactly. We had two of our customers in the booth today. One is a top 10 retailer, and today and over the last few days, and they were shoulder to shoulder with us, with their branded, logos on, presenting our combined story as to how we're reinventing retail. So, listen, it's the technology, it's the people, and it's our customers.
You're impacting their operations and ultimately revenue. I mean, right now, follow the money. And you got we've been looking at this edge, waiting for that to go mainstream. Industrial edge, intelligent edge. I mean, it's everything now. You're running businesses, end to end, and your devices and your technologies right there. Let's get into some of the news. You guys have so much. I got the release. It's almost, we could have done an hour just on the going through the press release. It was a lot of the release, So I got knowledge agent, sales agent. Take us through the highlights of the key news, because I mean, a comprehensive agent suites out there. You got some key. What's the key highlights from the news?
Yeah, so the couple of key takeaways. One is the Zebra Companion offering that we announced at the show, and we showcased in the booth with some of the players that I just mentioned. And there's 4 key agents under that. So keep in mind, these are Zebra Companion using agentic AI for the frontline worker in retail. And so the 4 agents that we discovered would be the most valuable to those frontline workers is, one is a knowledge agent. So you can think about this as everything policy and procedure oriented. If you're in the store, you're returning an item, you have the credit card you bought it with, but you don't have the receipt. What do you do? Can I give you store credit? Do I give you just a full return? So you can quickly ask that through voice, through text, it's multimodal, and get that response back really quick. This plays into the labor shortage and onboarding more quickly. The second one is a sales agent. So we integrate to the PIM, or the product information management system of our retailers, and that brings in all of that product information. So of course you can do simple things like, hey, what's the price of this? What's the inventory on that? You can scan a barcode and then ask questions about the barcode, which represents that product. Everything from health information to allergies to calorie information, so anything that's in the product information base, does this go with that? Kinds of questions as well. So that's the sales agent. And then we have something we call merchandising agent, which allows us to enable the fastest way for that associate to deliver the perfect shelf. So if you think about facings on the shelf, you may have 60 or 70 facings on a 4-foot section of shelf. You literally snap a picture of the shelf. In less than a second, it analyzes all that and then tells the worker what steps they need to take and automates entire portions of the workflow. So that's the that's the merchandising. And then we have a device agent as well. Sorry, just real quick.
What's the
device agent is understanding all the details of our products, and so if you want to ask a question around how do I make this product work with that one, how do I change the media or the supplies in this printer, it'll walk you through that step by step for troubleshooting and so on. So those are the 4 agents. They all fit under Zebra Companion, and you don't have to know anything about those agents if you're the frontline worker. You just ask your question or take your picture, and then it tells you what it can do with that and routes automatically in an agentic fashion to the right agent.
Does the retailer have to create a data lake with you guys, or they use their data lake, or both? Or
it varies by agent, but for the most part they use their data lake. And in the case of Knowledge Assistant, of course, it's a lot about, we work closely with Google on this, it's a lot about documentation ingestion. And Google has a whole knowledge assistant or a knowledge document capability that's able to parse those documents, so things like videos and links to PowerPoints and charts and graphs, as well as all the text. it's able to ingest all that and then augment the LLM so your prompts can be used to pull that information back. But one of the cool things we're doing with it in an enterprise context is ensuring that the answer we give back to that frontline worker can be clearly attributed back to a policy and procedure documentation, because we don't want to be in a situation where it's making up an answer or it's hallucinating or something. So the attribution of the answer it provides in a closed loop fashion actually back to the document that was created is something that we worked on with Google that basically grounds the model to ensure we're giving all the right information to the worker.
And that's critical. We get the context windows increasing,
Totally
cost per tokens are dropping.
Absolutely, faster than we can figure out. I mean, as we look at some of these business models.
Tom, I appreciate your time. Final question. What's the impact going to look like? Because you guys are bringing so much capability to the market. You got all this change happening. Budgets are shifting.
Absolutely.
There's $1 trillion in IT, generally speaking. But retail's going to have their portion. It's going to come from somewhere. What's your vision over the next 5 years? What's a steady state look like in retail? If we're here 5 years from NRF, what's going to look like in your mind?
Right. Yeah. Well, everything's going to be connected to everything for one thing. So the store is going to be omni in every sense of the word. I think you pulled up some things earlier in our conversation where you were saying an understanding of the customer. So curated and personalized experiences, that's already happening, but it's going to get to another level. We're seeing retail media networks take off in a major way within stores. So I think there'll be more screens and ability to interact, but do that in a personalized fashion as you walk. Absolutely, with agents. As you walk up to those elements, where we'll have much more automated, the digital twin, which won't just be a use case in 5 years from now. It'll be the whole store is instrumented, and then these things have massive network effects. So if the whole store becomes instrumented, think about a CPG company like a Unilever that right now has no visibility into the exact on-shelf position in a given store, other than maybe what the store reports on some manual-based basis. Well, once the store is fully digital twinned in a five years from now, that information is brokerable right to that CPG company. They can see exactly what's there. So now think about that. They're not sending somebody to the store to replenish something that doesn't need replenishing. They're able to see things you talked about, like dwell time. Did people pick something up and put something else down? From a merchandising perspective and optimizing that. So I think the more exciting thing is not just what's in the four walls of the retail store, but what's the rippling effect of all these technologies that are deployed in the retail store to the whole rest of the supply chain. And that changes the economy and it changes our experience as consumers. So it's exciting. I smile
because when I was in business school in the 90s, they had a whole book and class on consumer behavior. And it was just so pedestrian. What you're getting at is like next level stuff.
Really going to be interesting.
Dwell time, computer vision. They stared at the product for 10 seconds and walked away. Or would look confused.
Sure.
I mean, this is the kind of gestures we're going to get.
Absolutely. And what do you do with that to make your operations better and your customers happier is what it's going to be all about.
Tom, thanks for coming
John,
in. I know you're super busy.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
absolutely.
coming in.
Thank you.
To our NYSE location. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE, getting all the action from the AI leaders in retail and of course e-commerce. End-to-end data, end-to-end workflows will drive the AI data advantage, AI infrastructure powering this new agentic system. Thanks for watching.